Welcome inside the kennel, the heartbeat of the dog game, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it, one lit at a time. Your host, Kevin, Ben, and Terodrick, lock in.
All right. We're back for another episode, and this week we got Miss Kim Evans with us. And for those of y'all don't know, I believe everybody considers you the queen of the dog world, Miss Evans.
Some do. The fluffy world, especially.
Now, you want to give us a little history lesson right there for those who don't know why they would consider you that?
Well, the first fluffy I ever had was an Old English Bulldog that I come across online, and it was absolutely beautiful. Chocolate and white, blue-green eyes, and my dog was a Rottweiler, had died in November, and I didn't have any other dogs except a few Chihuahuas and a Catahoula and a Blue Heeler, and they were the husbands. So I kept looking around, and February come around, and it was my birthday, and I found that chocolate Old English, and it was fluffy. I had no idea what kind of controversy I was getting in by buying that dog.
English Bulldog breeders seem to be a little bit more sensitive about modifying the breed than
They were, because I bought this dog. He had papers, blue ribbon bred. I took him to some shows, and they were all laughing at me and going, no, that is a mutt. There is no way that dog is full blood. Now, he looked just like a full blood Old English, but he was fluffy, long hair. And they laughed at me, and listen, it was horrible. They were mean, and I got all kinds of messages, and finally they told me at the registry I couldn't bring him anymore and show him. And I said, how can you do that? He's right here, his papers say blue ribbon, and you've got a 6th generation pedigree on him. You can't. And I said, but he's been DNA'd. His mom was DNA'd, the sire was DNA'd, and all the puppies. There was 11 puppies. And so 13 dogs were tested because semen was shipped in from another state, so they wanted to confirm that all these puppies were siblings and the correct semen was received, and it was. They all come back siblings, and even the parentage test, it was all come back. And they found out at that time that he carried the L gene in double copies. He was the only fluffy out of 11 puppies. And some of the other puppies within his litter did carry the L, but just a single copy, so it didn't exhibit the coat. So nobody knew anything about it. And listen, I didn't either. I know the difference between a long-coated dog and a smooth-coated, but I didn't know anything about genes,
Yeah. So
I extensively started researching the background where this dog come from and all the bloodlines, and finally was able to trace where he had come from. This guy had bred Rottweilers into the breed to get black and tan and chocolate and tan and blue and tan, because at this time they didn't have a lot of color within the Old English, mainly brindles, sables, no tan pointed dogs and no colored dogs. So he had introduced that, and then on the other side of his pedigree, it comes from an American Bulldog, because an Old English is comprised of several breeds. And he had American Bulldog in there, and Lisa Marie was on his pedigree. And Lisa Marie was owned by John and David Johnson. And they had added a smooth-coated St. Bernard into their pedigrees. without anybody knowing, to try to get some American Bulldogs where they had thicker skin, because most of theirs were hog dogs and they just got ripped apart when they were working them. So they wanted a little bit more coat, not long, just a thicker coat and thicker skin. And using the St. Bernard was absolutely perfect, but they didn't know. They used a smooth coated St. Bernard, and she carried long hair.
Oh.
And she passed it for generations and generations. You know, it can go for many years. It can go for hundreds of years. It always takes two to make it. So your carriers, you don't ever know. I started showing them proof, and, talking to Chad Joe LaCure, he was sending all his long-haired ones were going overseas, and they were called Mammoth Bulldog overseas, and they had a registry for them. But everything here in the U.S., all the breeders were culling, killing, rehoming them as nuts.
So that's isn't that right? The English that you got, isn't that what his code is?
Now, his coat is fluffy.
Well,
yes.
I thought it, but it was the mammoth, right? It's the Mammoth Bulldog.
He's not considered a mammoth. He's full English, and the Old English is where they got the mammoth. How it came about into the English Bulldog is there was a lady that had a lot of English Bulldogs. I'm not going to say her name because she may not want me to, but she had a lot of English Bulldogs, and she needed color. And the closest thing and the easiest way to get color in the English Bulldog is an Old English looks more to the breed than anything else. So the Old English already had these colors added. They were already adding merle at the time. They were already starting to have lilac and tan pointeds, lilac and tan, blue and tan, chocolate tan, black and tan. And the only way to get that was to breed something in, because it magically just doesn't appear out of two brindles or two sables or two pieds or two red and whites. It just doesn't happen. So they added it in there with nobody knowing. And all of a sudden, I find out about this English Bulldog that carries the long hair gene. And then I got some of his blood, and that's how I added it to my program. And then overseas, there was a male from overseas that was produced, and they couldn't rehome him, and he ended up going to Canada. And I got one breeding off of him before this lady in Canada and the seller in the UK, they got into a huge fight. And if she wasn't able to stand him anymore in the US or in Canada at all. And so that's how I got started. I haven't had the English Bulldog Fluffies, but just for a few years. I had the Old English for about 12 years. And then when Trucker, the one that I was talking to, the chocolate and white, when he passed away, I just started phasing out all the oldies, because by that time, I already found a fluffy Frenchie. And there was two born in the United States. And I locked in one, and Cherry Valley locked in the other. And that was a big deal. That was a big deal.
What were their names? Do you remember?
Zoe was the black and tan, and her sister Chloe was a chocolate and tan, and I purchased the black and tan, and Cherry Valley Bulldogs in California purchased the other one. They just popped up. I mean, they didn't even know what they had. Now, they were expensive.
I was going to say.
Once everybody kind of got word about them, everybody wanted them, but I had already placed a deposit, and she had too. So we already had them locked in place, but everybody tried to get them. And because the only other one that had been posted all up on Facebook and on social media was a blue male named Enzo. But Enzo was cryptoid. Both testicles were retained, and he had to be neutered. They never dropped down. But he was the very first one known here, but nobody could use him because he was neutered. And then we found these two, and Melissa got one, and I got the other. And then it wasn't a few months later, two popped up in France. Well, they had been seeing me post up. It kind of got around, Kim is the advocate for the Fluffy. And man, you started talking about the Fluffy. I already knew a whole lot because I had been breeding the Old English
Yeah.
for 10 or 12 years. So I already learned how the gene worked and how it's introduced and how you get it into the lines and how other breeds in the backyard. That's, people don't know and people breed and then they register them and they start,
What would you consider a backyard? I'm gonna be honest with you. In my circle, we talk about this a lot because it's just kind of a derogatory slang term anymore. I think it's just took the place of like a puppy mill type insult.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What does that mean to you? Like what do you consider somebody a backyard breeder?
Well, that's kind of what just people just don't even know anything really about whelping their own litters and breeding their own dogs and DNA and health testing and what is required. And then they breed a litter and then they have a female and she's having puppies on their floor and then one gets stuck and they don't know what to do. And then naturally most of them call, that I know, they call me.
It has more to do with, so what you're saying is it has more to do with your knowledge
yes.
Of the dog and the breed that you're breeding, not necessarily the facility you are you're maintaining them in.
It's a lot of people unknowing. They buy one.
It's
and
an education level, right? Like so,
yes.
it's your dog IQ.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people. Some of the backyard breedings I know, it's just undercover. It's the need to have something first and to make money. Color and something that nobody else has is money.
Yeah, I mean that's true in every industry, and they cut corners in every industry.
Yes, and it doesn't matter if it's a rabbit or a chicken or a horse,
a car,
anything that's rare that nobody else has, people want it.
Yes.
And you've got a lot of these, a lot of the younger generation, they see it, they like it, the girlfriend wants it, they buy it, and they don't really know a lot about the breed and they don't understand. And you have these people selling it to them and they're not gaining any information from them on really what it requires to have a litter and do the breeding. And these dogs are short-nosed.
Let me ask you a question. Your experience selling these dogs, especially the Frenchies, like, do you find yourself having to educate somebody? Like, because the biggest thing I got is, don't they have a lot of health issues? Well, I mean, it's more than a lab, but if it's well bred, like the stuff that you're scared of is not there, right? Like the buyer, and it's hard to with every litter. It's probably half of them. You have this long talk, and then you spend all this time educating these people, and then they don't. They're just too scared to buy it because of mostly the breathing problems.
Correct. And I have a lot of people that they don't know. They go buy a $20,000, $30,000 dog, and they'll call me and say, "Hey, Kim, I was walking in the park today, and the dog's been perfectly fine, and now they're dead."
Well, how big is his nares, right? Like, what's his nares?
And there's other things. They said, "Well, they breathe good." Well, listen, we're 5 foot off the ground and we wear shoes. Okay.
Yeah.
Those dogs are barefoot, so their feet and their nose is what keeps them cool. If you're walking them on grass that it's been 80 or 100 degrees and all day long for multiple days, that ground is warm. Lay down on it and feel it. Get on the concrete and the asphalt barefoot or lay down without your shirt and your pants on, and you'll understand when they're a foot off the ground how much heat they're absorbing.
Now, I'm going to have to put a disclaimer in there that Kim was being facetious, and by no means does she advise anybody in public to take off your shirt and pants and lay on the ground.
Yeah. Yes.
It was a figure of speech.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just a figure of speech because they'll call me and say that, and they'll say, "Hey, what do you?" I mean, they didn't get the dog from me; they got it from somebody else, and then they've lost all that money. and they don't get it replaced. And they're young, they're just young, and they don't know. And I said, listen, you can't do that. You can't. They don't have shoes on, and their noses. They have no air conditioner. The nose is the air conditioner, so it's like driving the old '60 model Chevy or whatever down the road with no air conditioner, with roll down windows. It's hot. It's hot. So, anybody that gets a puppy, I try to teach them. Hey, even 80 degrees is not safe for days and days with the Texas humidity. A lot of times it's not just the heat, it's the humidity also.
Right. I mean, that's the same for us. Like
Yes.
When you think about how humid it gets, you sweat like you just got out of the shower. They can't.
Yes. No,
So
they cannot.
Well, a while ago you had mentioned in the original reason that or the original thing that I wanted you to talk about, you had mentioned this overseas and getting dogs
Yes.
from overseas, and I was curious. Is it even worth doing anymore? I mean, isn't all the DNA here, as far as like with the Frenchies at least? That
Yes,
like,
it's really, if you spend a little bit more here, like say if a stud is 3,500 here, but it's 1,000 overseas, or if a puppy is 5,000 here and 2,000 over there, it's not worth it, because all the ones I have 22 that I've purchased overseas.
Well, you ought to be the authority then. That is that is a lot.
Okay, and listen, it hasn't been good. I still have one line that I flew to France, and I picked up 3 females, and 1 fluffy and 2 fluffy carriers. One was for me, and the other 2 fluffy carriers I brought back for San Diego Bulldogs. And there were no fluffy carriers known here in the U.S. Nobody's ever had done any DNA. So I flew over and snagged them up, brought them back, and a lady in Italy, there was a second fluffy out of that litter, and she got it. And those were nice dogs. Siren Dam, all the grandparents, all the way back, every single generation that was all champions. Every single dog was a champion, but they were all standard coated. They were either pied, brindle, or red and black. So we picked up, these were all brindles that we picked up, black brindles. And they were excellent dogs, excellent quality, nice structure, short, little bitty ears, and correct. But I picked up a lot more, and they were not. Like the next fluffy, I could not find a fluffy male anywhere, full fluffy. So I imported one from Brazil. And when I received him, when I went down to Houston, I said, I don't see my dog out here anywhere. Because she said, hey, he's out there. After I did everything and went over to customs and got him in, I went out there and she said, he's out there in the crate on the dock. And I went out there and I just seen a black and white dog. Listen, it was huge, huge. And I went inside and I said, listen, this is the picture of the dog I purchased. That dog looks like a border collie. And she goes, well, let me look at the paperwork. So then she goes and pulls it, and we go outside and match it up. And that's the dog. Now, I was supposed to be getting like a 4 to 5 months old is what he was supposed to be. And his name was Jake. And no, this dog was around 10 months already. And already 30 pounds. But now, was he fluffy? Absolutely. Full fluffy, brindle and white, black brindle and white, pied. And he was a pretty dog. But he's not like what most people like here. He was long-bodied and had huge ears. And you get here in the U.S. and you start looking at most of the productions here, we have smaller ears and more compact bodies. And my females were compact. So, I had to use him. I already bought him. He's already here in America.
You care to say like what would something like that cost, and what year was this? You know what I'm saying?
Now this was back in 2016, That was the first. That was the first year. First puppies born here in the U.S. full fluffy litters, 2017. And the first litter born here was Zoe and Jake, and the second litter was her sister Chloe, and I believe his name was Enzo. Because see, there was 3 fluffy males that came to America at the same time. One here in Texas, California, and then the other one was off in I don't know which state. I think South Carolina area. But that one was. No, I'm sorry. 4 were brought here. 3 males, 1 female. A solid white pied, and I think that was Diamonds in the Rough, got her. Rick Pez, Cherry Valley, and me. We bought 4. And all different people, all different breeders. But all siblings. All these dogs were siblings. And so my dog and Cherry Valley's dog, they were sisters, litter mates. So, and we bred them to litter mate brothers. So both those litters were just nearly like fully related, pretty much. And the third litter that was born was my dog, Mia. And Mia was bred to Jake. And Mia was a black brindle from France. And, man, the puppy sold like crazy. Right off.
Well, yeah, is that new stuff? But
Yeah.
if the dogs you got from over there was poor quality,
Yeah.
by the standards here,
No,
like
not this first bunch.
well, no, I was
They
talking
come
about. Well, you mentioned Jake. You bred Jake, right?
Oh, from Brazil. No, they weren't this. They were healthy and health tested clear. They were large dogs.
Well,
big dogs.
okay. When I say poor, I mean a poor representation of what we were on here.
Yes, sir. Long bodied, but it's all we had to work with. So what you have to do is at that point, you spend all this money bringing them into the U.S. You've already paid these foreigners. You're not going to get a refund at all. It doesn't matter.
Minus the price of the dog. Like, what is your average cost, like, to get it here? Not the cost of the dog, but like to get it from there to here.
Right now, it's running between. Back then, it run about $2K to $2,200. Right now, I just checked on bringing another Chinese Chongqing from China, and they want $3,500 because of the fuel cost. Right now, we have this escalated fuel cost, right. And on the low side would be $3,300, but that's only coming into one of the ports, and the closest port for me, they said, was going to be California. So once it gets to California,
there's another $500 in plane tickets.
Yes, and if they don't have a service vest, they're not going to be able to get it on the plane from there to here because I'm looking at an adult. So I said, shoot, that's too much. That's more, that's just too much. Then you got 9,000 or 10,000 in a dog. So I just blew it off. But imports haven't been good for me. I mean, I picked up a couple of big ropes, one from China and one from the UK when they arrived here. They were literally skin and bones, had skin issues, and in the picture sent, none of that at all in the picture sent.
So I mean, it's risky business, right? Like you're buying it basically sight unseen, and
yes.
And you would think for the amount of money that I don't know what it would have been back then, but then anything is first, like the numbers. I don't know personally, but the numbers that I've been told by people that was breeding, because I just started 4 years ago myself, but I guess they were they were not single digit thousands.
No, and I mean their feet. They had no hair left on them. Acid had just literally burned all the hair off their feet. Sores all over their bodies, especially the one from the UK, covered in hundreds of sores. I had to take him to the vet immediately. And they said he had just been left in a cage. Even back there on his tail and his scrotum, completely scalded. There was no hair. It was really bad. You know, I didn't know. I thought when I saw him, he was really skinny, but I thought he had mange. And we couldn't even use him. He was the very first velvet in the United States that was 100% health clear. There was not another velvet male here, and he was hot over there in the UK. So we brought him over here. And when he arrived in December, we couldn't use him. You couldn't let anybody see that dog. Nobody. If they would have saw it, they would have been, I said, what the hell?
It is amazing to me that, and so like, I can't imagine treating a dog like that I got at the pound. But when you talk about the value of these animals at that time, to put it in that condition, like that's a special kind of sorry, because if that dog didn't have that value, man, like how would you treat it then as far as the
Absolutely. I mean, he couldn't be taken to any dog shows. I mean, it was horrible. It was March before he finally had his full hair growth back, and he was aggressive. If you brought in I don't know if he got hit with the sticks or brooms or mops, but if you got anything that you had in your hand that was long, he would attack it, and he would try to attack you. And collecting him, he was also aggressive and try to bite. So you had to do it a certain way. I become friends with him finally, and he was he just needed to learn to trust. I think he was spanked a lot and scolded a lot, and finally he got to where he was pretty good. But that was not good, him arriving here in America that way. And then he wasn't able to be used because you would have to send people pictures from months back from over in the UK. You couldn't show any videos of how he looked if anybody wanted a FaceTime video at all. And he finally, everything grew back. His weight was real good, and that was already March. There was already 3 more studs already coming out in March and April. And he got very little activity, once those studs, because those studs had more color DNA. Yeah. Even though this was a nice guy, they had more color, and people, most people want color. He had nice structure. He was a small for a velvet. He wasn't real long, and he was small, but he did.
When you got that dog, like, and you said that a lot of your experiences were negative. So is there no way to verify reputable breeders outside, I guess, just getting on a plane and going over there?
Pretty much.
If is there not it seemed like there would be a broker service that would only do business with reputable.
There's not. It is all shady over there. Listen, I flew to Budapest by myself, and I stayed 10 days. Just goofing around over there, just stayed in a Airbnb by myself. I went to the dentist and just looked around, and I waited on 6 dogs to be brought from Serbia. They brought me 6 dogs from Serbia, young pups, 4 or 5 months old. I went and picked them up to bring them back to the U.S. for several people that were wanting some. And that they were all of color, lilac and tan, blue and tan, chocolate and tan, and they were really high here in the U.S., like $3,500, $4,500, no fluffy, just dogs of color from over there were running $1,200 and $1,500. So I brought them all back, and when I get over to Germany, all of the passports from the vet rejected. They said, no, Serbia dogs can't go back. No, can't let them on a flight. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to get back with these dogs? So I called a couple of friends that I knew over there, and just at the time, and they went and got me passports, new passports from a veterinarian. And nobody saw these dogs. I was at a hotel, and they brought me the 6, and we threw the other 6 away. So then I started learning. I said, okay, the vets over here, they're shady. You give them, all I had to do was give them $10 a piece, and I got a pet passport that matched all these dogs. So that's the problem. One of the problems coming from over there. Those veterinarians are not like they are here, and you don't know if they don't have these passports. People just have them, and they fill them out at their home. And I don't know. I just know it was $10 a piece, and I don't know what that converts over to euros. I sent it to them. They brought me the brand new ones, and then they took the ones that I gave. They said, here, you don't need these at all. You don't want to get them confused. So they took them back with them. But I didn't have any idea. I knew the dogs could fly back, but I had no idea that Serbian passports, I couldn't use them. Well, and so, thank God I got back here, and I was flying into Houston. So I was at Frankfurt, and I flew in from Frankfurt to Houston, and then I was just glad to get them on U.S. soil and get home.
I guess a boat might have been the only other way.
Absolutely, and see, they didn't. I thank God at customs when I come into Houston, they didn't scan them. They could have scanned their microchip, and not one microchip coincided with these passports at all, because inside of the passport, the microchip number is in there. And they said, hopefully you won't get in trouble when you get over there. And I thought, oh, dear God, I hope not. I don't know what I'm going to do. So, but they didn't check one. I went right through customs in Houston, and man, I booked it straight out to my rental, and I come straight back here. But now I know, but I did have a good time going and getting them. It was at Christmas, and it was beautiful over there. But those dogs were nice. But listen, they all got big. Every 6 of them, and I ended up keeping one, a blue female, and her name was Soppy, and I ended up keeping her, and she wasn't too bad. She got about 28 pounds, but her ears were like radar detectors. Her ears were as big as my hands, and all these other ones that were males. Because I had a friend that wanted a chocolate and tan male, and he wanted a lilac and tan. And those males got nearly 40 pounds, and so he couldn't use them in his program. And his friend got the other ones, and they were females, and they just got too big and long, real long-bodied, like a weenie dog, and, big ears. And it just wasn't the quality that way. Not that the dogs were unhealthy. It just wasn't the quality and structure. If you walk them into a show ring here, even though their legs are straight and everything, their noses were a little bit longer, their ears were very large, their bodies were long in length, and the weight, you wouldn't place at all. You would be at the very back every time, So.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, you're not describing something that you can't readily find here right now.
Now you can.
Just,
well, because so many people have purchased in the UK high DNA dogs. They have brought them here, and then they end up big and long, and you breed them to something smaller. Some of the puppies will stay smaller, but they still retain that genetics, and they may pass a puppy in the next breeding.
So what are the pros and cons of that? So for me, my point of view on a lot of this is, if that's what you're doing, is that there's a particular DNA you're after, a color or whatever. If you do that, your expectation probably should be you're going to have to put a couple generations behind it, right? Like you're going to have to stack some of the style of dogs in that pedigree that you like to where it actually dilutes down what you're talking about. And
absolutely, because that's what I had to do. You've already spent all this money, invested all this money in shipping, and anybody over there is not going to give you your money back. Now, they may give you an option to swap if there's something health-related, life-threatening or something, they may swap you another pup. I don't know, because I did buy a male that was one of those that you see that looks really, really short-backed and really, really compact with no neck. that looks like the short bus, okay? Like those little cream ones you see running around. So I thought I had to have a male. And so I bought this male and I named him Starbucks. And I showed him for several months, probably about 5 months. And then he got to where he was gagging a lot and spitting up his water. And he was 10 months old and he'd been gagging. I noticed for days, you know, he'd get a drink of water and then gag and cough it up and all this white phlegm and, you know, he act like he's choking. So I took him to the vet and he said, well, let me look at his palate. And he goes, his palate's elongated. And we can do his nares too. I said, okay. So I had palate surgery and his nares done. So I get him home and he said, crate rest, and here's 2 medications to give him, antibiotics and then a cough syrup because he's still coughing. So this is a compounded cough syrup that I had to get at my pharmacy. So I'm giving him the antibiotics and the cough syrup and keeping him in a crate. And I don't crate here. No crates. So I'm having to crate him and on a leash, no running. And I called the vet back and I said, listen, he still is gagging and wheezing. And he goes, well, I think it's just the swelling. And bring him back. So brought him back. This is about a week later. Brought him back. They knocked him back out and looked in there. And they didn't look that first time. It was his trachea.
Oh, yeah.
He had too small a trachea. Very small. And he goes, Kim, he's got to have trachea surgery. And he goes, that I don't do that. He has to go to a specialist in Dallas. And you're looking at, you know, $5,000 and up. And he goes, it's sewn in, it's a stent. He goes, he will never, at this point, ever be able to run. He'll never be able to play with the others. He will always have to be contained once you get the stent. So I took him down to Dallas to BCA. And they, same thing, knocked him out, looked at it, and they said, oh, it's horrible. He absolutely has no neck. It's so fat. He's so small. They have literally, I had to hear them gripe forever. They have literally bred this dog to get him in this compact body, and there's not enough room. Everything is shoved together.
That's kind of what we're doing here now, right?
Absolutely, and that's why everybody's dogs are dead off and on. You know, you'll see it, they'll say, oh, no, they're fine, and then a few months later, they'll be walking them or let them go outside, and then they fall over dead. And I could name a bunch, but I don't want to say anything. I don't want to say anything. I mean, but I was devastated. So he told me, he said, there's only 30% chance this stent is going to stay. Because if he gets loose and he gets off the leash and jerks out of your hand, or the kids let him out and run to play with everybody, the stent's gonna come out. And he goes, you need to just move him on to a different climate for one. And he said, I would say like Montana, Colorado, somewhere, get him up in that area. And they need to know that he just needs never to be outside running. So I sent him to a French Bulldog rescue that finds them homes depending on their type of disability. And they posted him up and they had listen, this was a beautiful dog, beautiful. And they had hit after hit, and they raised the money. It was $5,600. They raised the $5,600 for the stent. So I signed off that he was released to them and to have the surgery. The very next day, he hadn't been transported up into Oklahoma. The very next day, I see a phone call from Bowie, Texas. And I thought, who the heck is that? And it said Cross Timbers Veterinary. So I answered it because I thought, what are they calling me for? Maybe it was a puppy I'd rehome.
Yeah.
So they called me and they said, hey, we have Starbucks here, and he is on life support at this moment. And they've only had him not even 24 hours, and they want to know what you want to do. And I said, well, what do you mean? What happened? They said they let him outside in a little yard, and he was running, and a cat was in the yard, and it couldn't get out the fence. And he ran and ran and ran it till it finally climbed a tree, and he fell over. So when they took him to the vet, his trachea was completely collapsed. And the only thing, like on a human, they do a tracheotomy and they cut your throat open and they stick, you've seen people with trachs. Well, we can have trachs, but on dogs, they can't do that because flies and they get them dirty. If they scratch, they'll pull the trach out. So the only thing they do for dogs is a stent. And they said, do you want us to go ahead and we'll have to transport him by pet ambulance because he's got to stay on oxygen and got to stay intubated because we can't pull the tube out now or he's going to crash. And I said, absolutely not. There is more that stent. If they hadn't even had him 24 hours, this has already happened. There is so many more dogs that money can go towards that will have a long life. We're just guessing if he's going to live. If he's already, just go ahead and put him to sleep. So she said, I've got to send you a form. She did. And I signed off because somebody real experienced need to have him because
I don't even know if real experience. I mean, what experience would you have it sedating a dog for the rest of its life? Like that, because that's essentially what you're doing is you just sit here on this couch and don't. And so like you can't exercise, right? So that's going to be a compound problem there because now he's going to have gain weight problems. Like
and he was.
That was never going to work. It was never.
No.
I don't know. I don't even know what scenario you could put him in that it would even be close to.
If he went to Colorado, is when I talked to the doctor, and he said Colorado was an example because of the elevation.
Uh-huh.
If he got up there, because they don't have the type of humidity here, he said, Kim, he could breathe better. And you might not have to do a stent. But he said he would never, ever be able to be a puppy again. If you're going to have to treat him like an old man, just in a crate and on a leash, and he can't play with others and run and have a good time. He'd have to go to a home that had no other dogs and just pretty much be a house dog. And that's why I didn't know if I could find the right kind of home for him, and I knew how critical it was with his breathing because he's like some of these you see at the show with their tongue out and they barely can breathe and foaming, and it was scary. And I would sit out there with him and cry, and I couldn't figure out, they couldn't tell me what was wrong at first. And I've been upset for days because I was real attached to him. And I finally that's when I called the vet back and said, he's got to come back. I can't do this. And that's when they put him to sleep and looked in there because they were trying to figure out what else. And it was his trach. And that is genetic a lot. It comes, and so it is what it is. He died. I pulled the plug and he passed on, and I had him cremated and brought him back here. But it wasn't anybody's fault, but just compact them to that size, it's not good. I mean, it's not. You can only go so small and then be healthy and a functional dog, or you're going to have problems, like this. And I don't look for dogs small like that anymore. I rather have a little bit of length. I don't want them real long, but I do want a little bit of length, especially in the neck, to where they have enough room to breathe properly.
Yeah, and the shorter you get them, the more spine problems you look at too.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, but you can't police. There's no way to stop it. I guess just not participating with it is the only. Hopefully one day enough people will not participate with it. I like a bigger dog anyways. A 28-pound Frenchie don't scare me. A male at all. And
me either. I mean, it's easy. It's easier on the mom if she has eight puppies, and then you see a lot of people now having 10. I've had 10. There's more room for the puppies to get up there to nurse. If you have a little 12, 14-pound Frenchie, there's no way. There's no room for them to get up there.
Well, so not only that, there ain't no way she's going to keep up. Like
no,
I've got an 18-pound Frenchie, and she just had a litter, and at 4 weeks I just pulled the pups. Like she couldn't keep up. She was losing so much weight, and I just kept food in front of her all the time, and she ate. They were just big pups, and it was
at that point, you have to intervene, and you have to become the mom, and you have to feed them and supplement and help them, because it's not their fault. They just can't do it. They're small.
Yeah,
And
I just tube feed.
yeah,
I'm not messing with the bottles or nothing like that. It's just so much. Once you learn how to do it, it's so much safer. And I know exactly how much I'm giving each puppy, and and I don't have to worry about pneumonia and all the other things that come along with that. And it's cleaner. The dogs stay cleaner.
absolutely.
That
That's
first,
true.
you give them mush, and right now I'm transitioning some right now, and I probably use more wipes now than I did whenever I was stimulating them the first 3 weeks.
Absolutely. I understand that. I use a lot of wipes. A lot.
They look like little mud monsters after they get through watering in their food.
Hmm. But I haven't had real good luck overseas. Anybody that's buying one, they need to find out if they have any other productions here in the U.S. You need to call those people, talk to them, FaceTime, kind of look at their dog. If red flag is if they don't have any productions here in America, and they talk all this and show all their dogs over there, it's a red flag, because that's happened to me 3 times now.
So what would be like bottom line, like right now in the present market, what would you get from overseas that would be worth it? Like that's not already here. Like
Nothing.
Like, yeah.
Nothing. I think everything right now, unless they're creating something else over there right now, is pretty much here. You've got your flutals, you've got your curly, you've got your EAs. The quality of them just gets better and better here all the time.
Yeah,
All the time.
I think the flutals got a little bit of work to go. The
They
EAs as
do.
well, but I just had a litter of EAs that I think they turned out pretty good. But I've seen some that was a little spooky.
True. Me too. Because a lot of the EAs started from the UK and were brought over here, and you've got a little bit of length of leg, a little length of body, a little bit bigger dogs. And, people say, well, tails. Well, yeah, when you introduce color, you introduce a tail a lot of times. There's normally not another breed that has a screw tail, that has color or has what you need, that doesn't have a tail.
I've kind of evolved on that topic. It's not something. Well, it should be something if in your program you breed out, right? But
yes.
But
Yes,
I used to be naive enough to think that if you threw a tail that there was something wrong with your dog. But that's just kind of how it. I mean, anybody that's messing with pink, I guarantee you, they're flirting with that. They're flirting with the tail.
Even merles, it's going to pop up in merles. It takes around 10 years to weed out the tails.
Now you're talking about as a whole, right? Like, so if you started breeding, in your program, how many generations would you say that? Well, you got to this point, and you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Oh, it's going to take a long time. They used to say rule of thumb was about 10 years, but let's say on generation, that'd be just normal breeding. Not, I would say maybe if you're lucky, maybe 5 generations, 6.
Well, I mean, that's going to be near 10 years when you think about it, because
it's going to be, because it takes a long time, because you'll have one one of the parent, like the mom, could be a screw tail, but then she has puppy in and either your sire or you're breeding out. They'll say, "Oh no, we had never had a tail." Well, you don't really know. I mean, I don't. I've had a few tested for the bobtail, but that was through Embark, and I don't like using Embark personally. I don't like Embark, and I don't like Wisdom, because it's not breed specific. It's your dog is tested for a lot of 350 things that don't even pertain to a French bulldog. So I don't believe in that. I think it's like a commercial on TV. Oh man, look, they do all this here. Okay, just go to Animal Genetics or UC Davis or VetGen you'll get more breed specific testing on your dog and not all this stuff
So
that you just see
why
on
do you
TV.
think? Why do you think that there's such a stigmatism on a dog that throws tails?
I don't know, because people think, oh no, it's not purebred.
Well,
If
they're
they start
not.
thinking,
Let's just be honest.
no,
Any of this, you want a big rope, you want anything. The Merles, none of that's
yes,
breed standard. All of that had to be like bred into the French Bulldog. Every color that is outside of standard, every the coat type. There were, I don't know. You know who James Choppin is, huh?
yes,
Yeah, he told a story that whoever it was that mentored him all them years ago when they got into French Bulldogs, it was some older lady that he had a lot of respect for, and I guess she produced a Fluffy way back when, like we were talking about 20, 30 years ago, and had no idea what it was. Like she gave it home, gave it away as a pet home. I believe.
mm-hmm.
Like it was a cull. Like she had no
Yeah.
it. So it's been around for a while, but
Yeah, it's like it pops up. Like when I flew to France, they had generation after generations of these dogs, all champions. And the guy, it was the head of the FCI registry where he lived. And when he messaged me, he said, "Hey, I've got to cull these dogs, but since they're coming to America, I will give you FCI papers, but they cannot stay here at all." And I said, "Okay." And he goes, "They did a line breeding, and that's how it popped up." And a lot
there you go.
that's what happens is when they don't ever know about it until they do a line breeding or inbreeding, and that's when it pops up.
Man, that's a whole other conversation right there. I'm working on. I started it. We done it's parts to it, but with James Choppin, we done one episode where we started touching on that and how to figure your coefficient, and we hadn't both of us have been doing a little research, and we hadn't got back together to do part two, but man, there's so much to that. Now, to me, that would also separate somebody from being a backyard breeder, because when I first got in, all I was ever told was, "Oh, you're gonna have to run them back. Like you got to lock the traits in." But there's so much more to it than just that, because you're gonna lock in stuff that it may not manifest for several years, and
Yes.
and then you're way down the line with your program, and it's bad.
It's true. It's true. And real tight line breeding, you'll have some puppies in the litter that will be very nice, and you'll have some that will not. And then you have some breedings that the whole litter is just not. They're healthy.
Pet home.
They're just not quality. Yeah.
They're
For
pet
what
home.
we have going on now, the quality of dogs here in the United States right now, no, they're just pet home dogs. That's it. And it's a shame it happens once in a while. I'll have a litter once in a while, and I may use a different stud, and the litter before, every single puppy in the litter is magnificent, and then this next litter, I don't use the same stud. I use a different one, and some are really, really nice, and some are not. And it's just, some breedings click, some don't.
Well, back to the overseas deal, I got a question for you. So, what would you say was like the absolute most horrifying story that you're comfortable telling of a purchase from overseas?
It would be the one from Scotland. And that one was hairless Frenchie. And
it's already horrible.
it's
a hairless Frenchie.
He was cute as a baby. But when he arrived here, I didn't really know quite what to think. He had legs like a giraffe, body of a corgi or a dachshund, neck like a giraffe, and ears like two satellites on his head. His ears would not stand. Every video they sent of him, ears always taped up always. And the problem I don't like with most breeders in the UK, you'd like to see the mom and dad. And you'd like to see the puppies nursing on the mom. Like if you message me and you say, hey, can you FaceTime and show me the mom and the puppies? Yeah, I can do that. I can FaceTime you the mom running around and everything.
Yeah, it'd be a huge red flag if you can't. Like, I mean,
most of them over there, you will never see both the parents. And usually the moms you don't ever see, ever. You don't see any of their lineage or any offspring. It's just, it's made up. They lie. And listen, that man in Scotland was horrible. Everything sounded real good, you know. They had this big fancy vet clinic there in Scotland they owned, and this big breeding facility. And man, we were manipulated, and they just sucked us right in. And man, we were 100% thought we were going to be millionaires, you know.
I think they got a lot of folks. They got a lot of folks like that during the rush there.
Yeah, and so me and my partner, we split it, and it was $150,000 for the dog.
Ooh.
75,000 a piece. You know, we had to pull that out of, you know, savings, 401ks that we had.
I'd have had to pull that out of the bank with a weapon.
Yeah, and we really thought, you know, it was presented to us, and we really thought it would be a good idea for people to have, you know, a non-shedding dog that was nice, compact little French bulldog. But hey, it didn't go over. I ended up, I was so mad. I ended up having that male neutered, and I had his testicles put in a little jar with some formaldehyde stuff that she put in there, or I don't know. And I shipped them back over there, and pictures of the dog being castrated. And he went to a pet home. You know, he was not of quality. I never had one puppy. I never bred him to one dog. I couldn't use him.
Basically, now, they stole money from you is what happened.
Yes, sir. You could not get your money back. And one red flag was money was never sent to the man that sold the dog. Money had to be sent to other people. Every bank wire was sent to the girlfriend or somebody else. And you couldn't send him money at all directly. And that should have been a red flag. Well, he finally replaced that male with another male. And it was shorter and smaller, but not of quality either. At all. I mean, I have no hairless Frenchies. That deal there burned me, and there's no hairless Frenchies now. They just don't look right.
I can't do it, any of the hairless, but I'll be honest with you, that, well, I guess he's missing now. I just seen on the internet a couple of days ago that Rockstar. I like those, but I'm not gonna have one. But I view that dog like that's kind of a dog show dog. Like it's an oddity that, like, when you go to a dog show, that like that's the kind of exotic, different, you know, it's like, oh man, that's cool. Let me get a picture with it. But I'm not. That thing's not snuggling up next to me at night. I'm just tell you.
No. He's different. He has the Chinese crested. That's why he's got the hair, and he carries 2 copies of Fluffy. So he's a lion's mane. And I thought about that. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I do own one hairless bully, and that's it. And you've seen him when you were here.
I've seen
him. And he's a good looking dog. There's not much. There's not much more to correct on him. Another generation, and it may be close to being perfected. Maybe. So, I don't even know if I'm going to go that way. You know, I look
at it like this. That dog to me is the same as a Lambo. Those are some man, as far as the supercar goes, that's probably the supercar for me. But you know what? I'm never gonna own one because I live in the country and you can't get that thing down the driveway. So
Yes. Yeah.
those type of dogs for me is like I admire them and I think they look good, but I'm never gonna own one.
Yeah. And
It's not a practical thing for me.
no, and it's nice for some people that would like to have. There are people that would like to have a Frenchie or like to have a bully, and they have children that have allergies, or the mom or dad, or they just have allergies in general, and they can't have a dog that has dander and hair, and a hairless is nice because they can have a dog at that point. Now, if they're allergic to the saliva, it's not going to help. But if they're allergic to hair and the dander, yes, a hairless animal, if they want one, that is good, because at that point they can own one, and a lot of times they wouldn't be able to own one. And I do look at it on the Frenchie side.
That's such a niche.
People,
That's such a niche. I wonder
yeah,
what the percentage of people, period, that want a dog but have an allergy to a dog.
I don't
Like that
know,
would be
because
a good question for Google. I
yeah.
think that like
I mean, there's a lot of people that do, and they can't own dogs because of the hair. Now, saliva, all dogs lick themselves and lick you, and at that point, you couldn't have a dog anyway. But if it is the dander you're allergic to on a dog, hairless will help, as far as your allergies and being hypoallergenic, like I guess in some sort. And if you just don't want hair on your furniture or your car, and you do want a Frenchie or you wanted a bulldog, and you said, hey, at least they don't shed, it would be nice at that point. But hairless Frenchie is not for me. I don't mind other people if they still want to try to breed them and perfect them. That's okay. I'm out. I had that one dealing with that man, and the problem is from them is trying to get your papers from them. They finally sent the papers, and they didn't want to put them in my name. They put them in the partner's name, and because they thought I'm kind of you kind of make me mad. I get kind of mouthy and a little bit forceful, and they were really aggravating me because we had studied this dog out, this hairless dog. We already had a couple of breedings here for $10,000 that we charged these people, and the $10,000 had to go overseas. I had to wire that money over there to the girlfriend, and I said, listen, these dogs we've bred, where are the papers? Oh, we'll have them for you. We'll have them for you soon. Well, months and months had went by, 6 months or so. And so finally they sent them over, but then they didn't match. They said, oh no, they're the wrong ones. They're not for the right dogs. And then they started saying, well, you hacked into our portal, and you just picked 2 papers and stole them off there. Okay, really? We're going to be able to go to the Kennel Club, the KC Club, or FCI in another country, and we can magically log into your portal right here in America, and we can go in there and take 2 sets of papers and say we want export pedigrees and mail them over here. Well, that's not even possible. I mean, two country women right here, we don't know how to do that. We don't have the technology or skills to do that. I don't know if anybody could do that. And so they kept saying that, and then they started talking horrible about us because we wouldn't send them any more money, and they wouldn't refund. 2 of the dogs they didn't take, and they didn't want to refund the money, and it was just a big mess. So I'm not real trusting anymore. That was a really, really bad deal, and we come to find out this man had been in trouble a lot with the law and in jail, and
well, they made it real hard to even get a dog over here. Period. Right now with the rabies, like they got to be 6 months old, and
yes,
And
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Like it may be
No,
too little,
no.
too little, too late, but it seems like it would be difficult now to
Yeah, it's better, and at least at 6 months, you could see more of the conformation and
right.
structure of the dog at that point. And if they're holding a dog for you to send it over at 6 months, and you've already paid for it, then you should already have your papers, because it does not take that long for them to order an export pedigree.
And it's 10%, by the way. 10% of the population has a dog allergy. So 1 in 10
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
So it's a little bit higher than
Mm-hmm.
what I would have thought, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see, I've never looked it up. No, I just know a lot of people don't want dogs. Oh, I'm allergic to them, or cats. Oh, I'm allergic to
It
them.
says so dog and cats lumped together is 15 to 20, I think is what it said here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little higher.
Okay.
I'm not a cat person, so this doesn't affect me.
No, me either. I'm
Okay.
just a dog person.
Yeah,
Well, I used to have
wait.
a cat
It's 15 to 30% of Americans are allergic to cats and dogs combined.
combined.
15 to 30%. That's a lot out of 350 million. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
There
I
may be
had
a
lot of
market for these. You may be swinging me on this hairless stuff. There may be a market, a lot bigger market than I thought.
the bullies are better because they look better, and the bullies you can make any size you want. You can have XL, micro, mini, standard.
Oh, I just seen the nanos at that dog show. Well, you were there too, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't know. I'm just learning about the bullies. I got that one from you, and I picked up a stud today, and I didn't know what a nano was, but I'm not gonna own one of those. They don't look right.
No, they can't walk. They can't walk. I saw the one at the show as well, and he couldn't stand on the back legs. They had to hold him up most of the time.
Yeah, that's just man. That's the one thing about bullies. I think that it kind of gives it a stigmatism or a stick. I don't know. It gives it a kind of a bad reputation. Like, cause it's like anything. Like when somebody says that, it's always the worst mental image they can conjure. You know what I'm saying? Like if you say you're a dog breeder, they immediately see you with 75 dogs and they're all stacked in Amazon kennels with poop dripping out of them and they got no hair, right? Like that's just what somebody who is not familiar with it's what they picture when you're introducing somebody to a Frenchie. That's the same thing. Like all them dogs can't breed, they can't do this, they can't do that. Well, I mean, if you're messing with a responsible breeder, like it might not be perfect, but like their nares are something that I consider greatly in my program.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's just that when you see pictures, and it's kind of like I talked to Blake about that guy getting on his dog. It's kind of like that to where they don't even have to know nothing about your situation. It's just they get to act holier than thou, and so they jump on you. So when they see a dog like that, well, that's everybody's dog, everybody's program. In my opinion.
True. That's true. But yeah, that people need to be aware. The UK, they need to see if there's any other productions from that breeder here in the U.S. It'd be good to see pictures of the sire and the dam, and if you can see the puppies with the mom interacting, playing, nursing, so you'll know that this possibly is legit, because it's not a lot. We bought another dog from the UK, and this guy's name that he portrays on Facebook is not his name. And then when you had to send him the money, you had to send it to his uncle. And
I feel like all these people might have had some financial issues that led to them not being able to have an account.
None of them had jobs like this man in the UK. no job. The guy in Scotland, no job. They literally are online keyboard warriors all day long. They're online trying to promote dogs, broker dogs. They buy dogs off of Gumtree over there, same as Craigslist here. It's Gumtree over there, and they've got a couple other sites. They buy them off of there, and then they breed them, and then they flip them to us over here. And we don't. I've learned my lesson, man. There'll be no more for me. But some people that don't know, that's what happens, and then they go, "Oh man, I got this dog." So some of the new fads over there are not so good. You know, like the one he's still trying to promote, the polka dot. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the wrong ticking stuff, right?
No, well, yes, but no, he actually took a Dalmatian and bred it to a Frenchie and trying to make a polka dotted Frenchie just like a Dalmatian.
Wasn't there one a few years ago? It was what was it? It had a Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that dog what you're describing, what you're talking about, or did they do that a different way?
Really, the real look for polka dot is roaning and ticking, and it's the ticking. I've had several dogs that are spotted, but the Dalmatian did not go. It did not work for him. Now he still was trying to promote it, and he scammed so many people here in America, trying to invest into the polka dots, but it did not go well.
I wouldn't think. I mean, you're starting with a dog that has serious known health issues. That's why it's a fire truck dog.
Yes.
And you're breeding it to dogs that have known health issues. That's doubling down on the bad traits. You know what I'm saying? Like this, some things just shouldn't happen. Some.
It's true. And then I started researching about the Dalmatian. They're not the best family dog in the world.
Oh no, they're up there. They're like on the top 3 of most likely to bite you.
Yes.
The Chihuahua, I think, is number 1, and maybe a Poodle is number 2, but the Dalmatian is like right there in the top 3. Yeah.
And so he was very hurtful. You know, he got on there and put a lot on social media because we'd be asleep, he'd be awake, and he had all these people on there. And social media can be very devastating to you, and also can just ruin you. People would believe, oh yeah, this lady here in America, she just hacked right in and stole these papers and then stole these dogs. And
you're talking about so it's that dog. I remember that being like, I didn't know who you were then, but I remember, and I couldn't figure out exactly, like I didn't know who any of the players were in that, and I couldn't figure out, but that dog ended up like they said they repoed it, but they stole it back, right? Like.
No, I had him castrated. Yeah, no, he was castrated.
Oh, so I got my stories mixed up there, then, huh?
No, they stole the second one. That one got stolen.
Oh, the second one, okay.
The second one, that dog had an elongated palate and pinched nares and had a swallowing problem. When he arrived here in America, he was emaciated. And he kept saying, this is the smallest Rojo Fluffy in the world.
Shit,
and the pictures were not, that was him when he was about 8 months old. The pictures, because he never would FaceTime and give you a video. He'd say, oh, I live with my mom. I'll try to get you one. Never the dog running, playing. How about the vet visit? I said, how about when you go get the pet passport for him to come to America? No, couldn't even send the video or a picture then. Not at all. Not even getting on the scale. Nothing. So when he arrived, that the nanny had already called me from the UK, and she said, listen, this dog has diarrhea so bad, it shot out of the crate here in my car, and I'm having to have somebody pick up my car at the airport and take it to have the carpet shampooed. It splattered. She sent me pictures, and listen, it was not nothing I had ever seen, ever. And then when they get here, before they arrive at DFW, she said, "You've got to go get me another pet bag." And I said, "Well, why?" She goes, "Because he's ruined this bag. He's pooped in it, and we've had to throw everything away in the bag. You know, there's like a little cardboard or padded deal in the bottom of the bag where when you carry them, you know, it doesn't bend down. It stays
It's still
solid."
Yeah.
So when she come out of the airport, I had forgot that bag. Got it. And she come up and we put him in my vehicle and put him in the crate. And she threw that bag right down in the trash can. And I said, "I'm sorry, I forgot to run by and grab you a bag." And she said, "That's okay. I'm going up to visit somebody in California." And she said, "I'll just pick up another one." I said, "Okay." Because I had just forgot about it. But listen, that bag, it was horrible. She had to clean him multiple times flying over because the flight was 13 hours over. And so I took him straight to the vet because I thought, oh, God, he's not coming out here with this diarrhea. And you never know if the vet's legit, you know, that saw him where they come from. So I took him to the vet, and she had to keep him for 3 days. And they did a full blood panel. It cost me $356. They did a blood panel, and everything come back okay, except he had some coccidia. And she goes, "Kim, I don't know what's wrong with him, but he's emaciated." She goes, "This dog should be 21 to 22 pounds, and he's 16 pounds. And you can feel every vertebra in his back, both hip bones, the tailbones, and the bones in between his ears on his skull." And she goes, "I don't know if something's wrong with him. He can't gain weight, but something's wrong." So she kept him there and quarantined him to make sure he was safe to come home. And he was. So I brought him home, and they put him on some probiotics and some antibiotics for a few days because he had colitis, and because he was pooping some blood. And we put
all this going on. Were there stud credits out on this dog at this point?
Not in America, not yet.
Not in America.
Not yet. And so I didn't trust the DNA, so I swabbed him and sent it in animal genetics because we were just going off verbal DNA.
Yeah.
No proof at all. None of these people do DNA, so there was no proof at all. They just guessed. They said, "Oh yeah, he's this color, and he carries 10 points." And then and this one was fluffy, and they said, "Oh, he carries curly too." So I DNA'd this second one that come from the UK, a total different breeder. And he did not carry curly, and he did not carry 10 points. He was an AA, not an ATA. He was an AA. There was no curly in his coat, and they wanted us to present him as that and to stud him out because he wanted to do a couple stud credits and get some money, you know, part of the stud fee back. And that was fine. I agreed to that. But what happened was he couldn't gain any weight, and I was spending all this money. I'd already spent $1,500 on vet bills and on special food and special diet so this dog could gain some weight. Well, the vet said, "Hey, his palate's elongated, his nares are bad. He would puke up all his food." And I said, "I need to take him in and get his palate and his nares." And no, you don't need to do that at all. He didn't want me to do it. So we put him on something to kind of relax his esophagus because he would literally eat and then walk around gagging and throwing up his food and then re-eating it. And he always getting sick because he was aspirating, always having to put him on antibiotics for him having a cold because he was getting it in his lungs. And he had been at the vet Thursday, Friday, and I picked him up Saturday morning. And he called me and he said, "Hey, I wonder if we can pick him up because we've got a guy coming from Tyler that can meet in Dallas and can do a breeding this weekend." And I said, no, I said, he's sick. I can't do it. I've got family coming over and I can't go meet and do this breeding. Well, hey, I'll just send Chuck over and he'll pick him up and he'll do the breeding. And I said, okay, that's fine. I mean, hell, I trusted him. I didn't think anything about it. So I sent him over there. So they come and picked him up and they stayed here 2 or 3 hours. Chuck, his wife, his kids. I gave them a snack. They all had drinks, come in the house, showed them all the dogs. And he took him and he said, hey, I'm going to bring him back on Tuesday. I said, okay, that's fine. And I said, well, you need to take his antibiotics here with you. Oh, no, he doesn't need those. And I said, he does need them. And he said, no. Rocky said not to get them. I said, okay. So I thought, man, I wasted all that money, but he would not take them. He said, I'll have him back Tuesday morning. You can start him right back on them. He goes, I may forget him if I take him home. I said, all right. So Tuesday came. They wouldn't answer the phone. Friday, they said, oh, we had a death in the family, and we'll bring him back in a couple of days. So there really was a death in the family. And I didn't think much about it because I did see it on the news. It was right on the news. It was a police officer that got killed, and it was her uncle, the husband's wife's uncle. And I said, okay. I said, well, they're mourning and everything. So I waited a few more days, and they had the funeral and everything. Monday came, nothing. Then a few days later after that, we start getting blown up on Facebook and on the internet. They let a guy come from another state and pick that dog up. That's what they were waiting on. No breeding. Waiting on this guy to get him and this guy to go promote him and study him out there. And they told that guy all kinds of lies. And I said, there's nothing to lie about.
Well, they weren't going to tell him the truth. Like, hey, man, you want to be part of stealing a
said,
dog?
I said, here's the bank wires for $10K. Here's where we paid the lady for the shipping, the flight nanny. There's the money. And he goes, well, he said that he had so many breedings. And I said, there's no breedings. This dog is sick. Nobody wants to breed to this dog. Look at his condition. Oh, he's got allergies, and I'll get him on some food. So listen, this dude gets him. He tries to study him out. Do you think he ever gets any papers? Because then I'm having people from Ireland and the UK messaging me saying, hey, can you register our litters? We had this guy breed our dogs, and we never got papers. And they were saying the dog was named Motley Crue. And I said, no, his name is Dubai. No, it's Motley Crue. So then I called, and listen, it cost me like $60-something. I called the Kennel Club and had them look up this guy, and they said, no, he doesn't have any dogs registered here at all. None. And I said, well, I'm looking for this French Bulldog named Motley Crue. So they pulled it up. There's not many dogs going to be named Motley Crue in the UK. Frenchie.
Yeah.
So they pulled it up, and they said, this dog has limited papers and is not for breeding. I said, oh, okay. So then I'm messaging. I said, hey, this dog doesn't have any papers, and so we're mad by them. We spent all that money. Spent all that money. And this dog had no papers. This whole time had no papers at all. And this guy, like in South Carolina, has him. And he found out because he found out how this guy was, and he never got any paperwork. And then all of a sudden he's calling and apologizing and said, hey, that guy's a scammer. I said, I told you that. I tried to tell you. And I said, all you did was get on Facebook and bash and bash and bash. And you didn't even know, you just like us. You thought he was really nice. The guy called me Mom. I visited FaceTime with him and his mom on the phone. but never the dog. Never. It was crazy. I say, well, can I see the dog? No, but I could FaceTime him and his mom. And he told me, he said, hey, I don't want anybody to know my real name. And I said, why do you go by that fake name on Facebook? Well, if anybody knew my nationality, they would be prejudiced to me. And I said, that's not true. I'm not prejudiced to you, and I know who you are. I've seen you on FaceTime. He goes, but there's so many Americans that are. And he goes, I don't want anybody to know my nationality. And he was of an Indian, not an American Indian, but an Indian from over there. And he said, people are so upset in America with 911. That's what I look like. And he goes, I can't. And he tried to, tell me all this stuff. And so I felt sorry for him for a while. And, the pictures he sent of the dog was very beautiful and he looked good. But once he arrived, it was not the same dog. Horrible condition. And he said that was from travel. Okay, no dog looks that way. The dog left his house and in 48 hours was on a plane coming over here. And a dog emaciated like this does not look like that. I mean, it was unbelievable. I wouldn't even bring him to my house. He looked so horrible, skinny.
I'm gonna tell you, like, from this conversation, would you like to know what advice I have for the 17 people that listen?
What?
Buy American. That's
Absolutely.
Shop American.
You're safer. Pay a little bit more. Go fly out there and see the dogs. Do FaceTime. It is so much safer here. It's easier if you had to. If you have a loss here, it's easier to recoup your money. It's easier to go after them. You can't leave here and fly over there to the UK and go start a lot of trouble, or you're going to go to jail in another country. Well, yeah, and it's going to be a problem. So
you may go to jail here doing that. But
absolutely, it's true. But at least you're in your own country. You have people that can retain a lawyer here.
Yeah.
And fight for you. We tried to retain a lawyer in the UK, and we just couldn't secure one. None of them once they checked out the man in Ireland, they said, "Listen, that guy is known as a thug here in this country." We hired a private eye. The private eye went and sat by his house down the street, watched where he was going to and from, and he sent pictures of his house to us. And he said, "This guy lives in council housing." Well, I didn't know what council housing is. And council housing is. He goes, and that guy goes, you'll have to look it up, but it was like Section 8 and welfare type housing here. And he goes, this guy's mentally ill and he lives in this house, and he goes, he gets government money. He goes, this guy doesn't work.
Oh, he works all right.
Yeah, he works and he makes money. They just don't know about it.
Yeah.
And so this house in the front had all these cameras on. He goes, listen, we can't get near this home. There was eight cameras on the front, and I don't even know how many was on the back. And I said, we just let it go. Just finally just took it as a loss. And hey, it is what it is. And then I'll be damned, I got sucked in on this Rojo, and it's the same scenario. Everything's a lie. The dog's not like it is presented to you. We would ask for pictures of the siren dam to this dog. Nothing could be sent at all. Any offspring of the dog, nothing could be sent. Have you sold any dogs to America? No. Nobody here in America could back either of these gentlemen up. So if you really need to find somebody reputable over there that has dogs here in the U.S. And yes, there is some that are over there. You just need to do your research. But everything you need is here in America. You don't have to go over there anymore. It's all here.
What else could there be? Let me, because I'll be honest with you, I've had that conversation very recently. Like what, and I guess I'm talking mainly about Frenchies at this point. Like what else could you?
I could see somebody trying to do, and I wouldn't want one using a Commodore to get dreadlocks. I could see that happening. That having the dreadlocks.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Kim. You just I didn't see that one coming.
I mean, I could see that. That's something different. That's a dog of a total different. It's a different texture. It's a different look. I don't prefer that look, but there's people that like it.
And you said it's a Commodore?
Yeah, Google it.
I'll tell you what. One second. And what does a Commodore look like? The dog. Let's just see what it says. Man, that's a mop.
Absolutely, but there's people that are going to like that.
No, there's not. There's like six. It's like one person. It's one person. Nobody's going to like that. It looks like a big dog too.
Yeah, but hey, they can size it down.
Well, I'm just going to put a disclaimer out there right now for y'all don't do that.
No, that's something. Listen,
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about anybody that's listening that think, oh yeah, you know what, dreadlocks. No, don't.
Or a pulley. Look up a pulley. Only reason I mentioned that, I have already seen it online where they are showing crossing the Commodore and the pulley over to a Frenchie. Now, I don't like that look, but somebody will. Somebody will want it.
Stand it. I don't like the floodals, but I mean, I understand everything. All roads lead back to the poodle at some point. Like it's in everything, but I can't do it. Like
the pulley is smaller. If you go look at a pulley, they are much smaller than a Commodore. And I've already seen somebody, I'm not going to say, but I know they're already crossed the pulley over with the Frenchie. And I don't know what texture they come out with because I was not interested at all.
I think that's going to, I don't know. Man, you can't ever tell. I would have never thought. I remember when Labradoodle started, I wasn't breeding, but I remember thinking what an atrocity because like Lab is my favorite. At that time, it was my favorite breed. And the majority of dogs I've had in my life were Labs. And I thought, what a monstrosity. but now here we are. Here we are sometime later and I have, Frenchies that people call an atrocity.
True. So I don't really know what else they could. I mean, we have pretty much all the colors that are out there.
Yeah.
There's people trying to do the heat sensitive. They're saying the Siamese, where they have the a base coat, solid white or cream beige, with the chocolate nose and the chocolate feet and the chocolate on the tail, just like a Siamese cat. I haven't seen it perfected yet. I've seen a couple, and that was a large dog that started that, and it was not a Frenchie. I don't even know what it was. It was just a dog that had that Siamese pattern, and they started breeding it. But I don't really know, if that's even going to go over or if it's even a thing. It's kind of died down now, and you're not hearing anything about it. Yeah,
I think my personal opinion is the economy is going to drive a lot of this, and as long as gas is $5 a gallon, or diesel's $5 a gallon, because that affects everything, right, that gets shipped to the store.
Oh,
it's diesel.
Absolutely.
Everybody complains about gas, but it's diesel. Diesel, when it goes up like that, it causes everything because how much that is transported by truck.
Oh yeah, last week my one truck just hauling in Oklahoma, $1,736 in diesel.
Oh yeah, because you're what, 400 gallons to fill it up?
Oh no.
Well, no. Oh no, well, it's 200 gallon tanks, right? It's 200 gallons.
No, they're 160.
Okay.
160 on each side. So, what, 320
320.
gallons?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but
and
you
it-
figure we were paying five. The highest we've had to pay is 589, and now it's dropped. If you notice this week, I noticed at the pump, or right around here at these truck stops, 499. So we have had a little bit of a drop now, but it's hard, when diesel's that high. And if you're trying to bring a dog from the United Kingdom or anywhere foreign right now, you have extra expense because of the fuel cost in the planes. DFW, they announced on the news, 10% of the flights are being canceled right now because of the jet fuel. The jet fuel is so high.
Well, I would be surprised in the current state of the Frenchie market that anybody would be bringing any kind of high priced dog that has some DNA that I just don't even know what it would be.
I don't either.
They would take off at this point. Like selling dogs like that is just breeder to breeder. Like nobody's walking around. Where I live, near Tyler. I mean, Tyler's got 100,000 people, so it's not exactly the boondocks. But every time I take one of these fluffies out, like people, they know what they are, but they've never seen one.
Oh yeah,
and that's just Fluffy's. Fluffy's been around for breeders for as long as I've been doing this.
Yeah,
and that's not even with the when you say a husky, they instantly think that you're talking about a Siberian husky and a Frenchie, and I mean I guess there's some truth to that as far as the EA goes, but it's not. What do you think? It's not a first gen,
No, that's introduced easily with the Pomsky, and that's how they did that.
That's how they did that.
And a Pomsky, is bred down to a Pom. I had one. My son wanted one, and we had a Pomsky, and he weighed about. I will say he's finally was about 25 pounds, not real big, and he was beautiful. But my son went to the Marines, and he said, I said I couldn't handle him. He was too high for him. So I ended up taking him back to the lady that we got him from, because he said, hey, I don't want him. With me being in the Marines and traveling, he didn't want him. So we took him back, and she rehomed him for us. But
I tell you, I think what's going to happen is all that energy that was in the Frenchies for the last 5 years. 6 years, 7 years, however long the craze went there. Like I think everybody's fixing to jack up another breed. I don't know what it's going to be because it seems that they're searching. It's
a lot of them have moved to dachshunds.
So I was going to say, I was going to bring that up is that I see a lot of wiener dogs.
Yeah, the dachshunds. They've added color. They have pink now and caramel pinks, and
all that's going to go so much faster now that DNA's here. That and it's in a lot of people's programs.
Yes.
So it's going to move so much faster than I think it did with the Frenchies.
Yes, and Isabella, Isabella dachshunds and lilacs. So they have, nearly any color dachshund, they have it now. Long hair, wire hair.
Yeah, Merle. It's all yeah.
Merle.
And my daughter about that fucking
Two of them now.
boy and girl breed.
So I have a dachshund.
Aaron been on me.
I have an Isabella dachshund female, wire hair, and I have an Isabella Merle full fluffy. But they don't stay with me. I just went in with another partner, and they reside at their house. And I have a couple, and the only reason I thought about it, I have a grandkid that wants a couple. So we'll sell some and make a little bit maybe. And then I've got a couple of grandchildren that want dachshunds. And so I see.
I think the bullies, I could be completely wrong because I'm pretty new and it's just from the outside looking in. But I think the bullies is probably going to be a next step too with I think all the DNA testing and the colors and purposely breeding for, because you want you got all the husky genes too. Like I've already seen it. I've already seen it in a couple dogs, like a couple breeders on Facebook and TikTok, and they got the panda bullies.
True.
Yeah,
That is true. I've seen one that's husky that had the double blue eyes.
Oh yeah, well that's Thomas. Like he had a koi.
Mm-hmm. Koi, yeah.
Yeah, he had a koi. Those were beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not giving it up cheap. Like I think his stud fees are on up around $10K.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Israel Vargas has a pocket that it looks like it's pretty low color DNA. I think it's just a blue. I could be wrong. Maybe it's chocolate, but it's damn sure a panda pattern.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen him post where he put that up just very, very recently.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, I probably saw it and I just don't recall it.
Yeah, I don't remember what he was saying. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been trolling him because he's done got himself into a little Facebook face. He's got a little Facebook face off going on right now.
I've seen that too. I did.
So I think everybody's seen it.
Yeah.
So, but we've been at this almost an hour and 40 minutes now, and if you got anything working that you want to promote, now would be the time. The floor is yours, or any dog shows or anything you want to plug.
Only dog show I have right now. We've got one on the 25th coming up. It'll be in Dallas. It's the Bullies and Lowriders.
I seen that one.
That'll be on the 25th. Should be a pretty good gathering. There's a lot of people that have.
They're gonna be indoors.
No, no, it is not. It was supposed to be cooler, but it looks like it from what is showing right now. The rain has moved on, so I think it's going to be in the pavilion. But it shows 88 right now, and it's from 2 to 6 p.m. So I've got a judge, so I'm not taking any dogs.
Yeah.
Now, if the grandkids want to go and babysit, and it's one that I know that'll be okay in the shade and in not indoors, so we may take a couple down there, and they can just tend to them. But them John
Kings, they'll be fine, huh?
They're fine. Yeah, they do well.
Yeah,
I have several dogs that'll be okay, even full fluffies. But there's some that I wouldn't take. No, because I just don't know how hot 88's getting pretty warm.
Yeah, that's the close. Like it's all mine go under air conditioning after 85. That's
me
just
too.
A rule of thumb.
Me too. I'll have the air conditioners going for them, and they can go inside in the air, but I have swimming pools too. So all of them, if they get to, most of mine swim. They go out and get in their pools and swim, and then they go inside and lay in the air.
I got swimming pools too, but I'm gonna be honest with you, mine are. I live out here, and I got a lot of red clay, and it's only the white ones. They got a rojo fixation, I think. And they'll get in those pools and just go find them a bald spot somewhere and just roll. And I'll go out there, and I swear they're AA rojos when I put them up. Gotta run them over here and rinse them off real quick, So
I understand, but I don't. Right now, I have a breeding. When she comes in, I'm going to try to make some of the EAs that look like the Siberian. So she is an EA, a visual EA, and I want to take her to a big rope. He doesn't have to be an EA, but I'd like to take her to a big rope, full fluffy, must carry cream. And even double cream is better. because
See, I don't.
to make what I want to make, you have to have the cream. She does not carry cream, but the male has to carry the cream.
Is this one the double EA you got?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
see, if I got a fluffy carrier that's a a cream. He's a cocoa and tan covered in cream.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a Ric Flair son. But
Oh, okay. Okay.
He ain't a big rope, but he's got a natural rope, but he ain't a big rope. So he don't feel any of your criteria.
Well, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a big rope as long as they have a nice muzzle. She is she's small. She's only, last time I weighed her, I think she was 17 pounds. So but I want to add a little bone. She has very nice structure. She's a really nice put together dog, short back, but she has legs that are about as big around as a deer, and she has a little bit of muzzle. And I want to shorten that muzzle up, and I want to add more bone. So I'm looking for a specific male to breed her to. And if I don't find
how hard do you think it'll be to find a full fluffy male that meets all that criteria? Because like cream, people run from it. Hell, I did. I mean, I got 3 cream dogs, but it was just because their structure was too good out of that breeding to let it go, right?
It's going to be true. It's going to be somebody that knows how to breed these EAs that they need to cream. And even one copy of cream will be okay. I just may get more of them with as double.
Well,
copies,
you will. So if
one.
she's double, then only half your litter theoretically is going to be visual, and the other half, if he carries cream, is going to be whatever he is. It seems like you should find you an EA stud to run to.
True, and I may do that too.
That way, they're either double EA or they're visual.
Yes, and I may use my male. I have a nice compact male. He's a rojo and tan covered in cream, and I may possibly use him.
That when you get them, like I rarely try to, like, I'm not a very boisterous person, but I'm gonna just tell you, like, I kind of crapped on the EAs when they first started out, and then the pandas took off, because I really do love that panda. That pattern to me still is the prettiest pattern. I like that too. And but I had these litters. This litter here, it was off of a Flair daughter and El Jefe, and I know that he don't have the best reviews, but man, my keeper that caught all the bells and whistles, I think he's beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen him. I've seen pictures of him. Actually, yesterday, Amy sent me pictures of him.
Yeah, well, it says, she's going to get that. Are you talking about the Isabella one or the black and tan? Now, the black and tan is the one I'm keeping here.
The Isabella one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's I think the black and tan's prettier, but the Isabella's got more DNA.
Got more DNA.
Oh yeah, he does. He's got it all. Carries pink.
Yep. I've kept a black and tan back this time, and somebody said, "Why are you keeping a dog so basic?" And I said,
"Rojo."
I said that dog has it all. I mean, she's loaded it. She carries everything other than EA. She carries everything else. So I said, and she's a big rope and a full fluffy. And I said, I like her. She has potential. So that's why I kept her.
I like black and tan. They seem to do pretty good at shows too. Like Bankrupt, like Amy just pranced him out there and took trophies and then went home. Like, you just sassy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So he was. That's a pretty dog. I had a black and tan that I just retired, and I like him.
Yeah, he's a nice dog. He's old school, doesn't have all the new DNA, but he's got structure, and his body, and just multiple generations behind him. Healthy dogs, good looking dogs. He could help somebody's program if they need to get the structure in there, and they could have an Isabella female that's loaded, and breed to him and just have some nice puppies, quality puppies, stuff to retain and keep into their program.
I think I really think through this economy we got going now that reloading and improving your program is probably should be the focus, because
Absolutely.
it's tough sledding out there. A lot of competition selling puppies.
Yes. Yes. And the market's nothing like what it used to be.
I don't think it's ever going to be like that again. I think
No.
I don't think it's going to be like it is now, but I think like everything's up and down, right? And it's always an extreme. So like when it shoots up, it goes way past what it should be, and when it falls from that peak, it goes way below what it should be, and at some point it's just going to level off. But it's going to have to, a lot of breeders going to have to get out of the way, to where the supply's not there no more.
That's true.
So we'll have to see, and that's just going to take time, because basically what's happening is they're getting starved out, right? They got so much money invested in their program that you're just hanging on. But I know a few people, and they've got to the point where it just ain't worth it no more. And
yeah, that's true.
They got very expensive pets, and they're done.
They're true. Yeah, I have a friend that called today, and she only has 3 Frenchies, and they're done.
Yeah, so I mean those will be and it'll go. I think it'll escalate, right? Like, so you're talking about people that got 3 basically dogs in their house, and they're breeding them, once a year or however often, whatever the program is, and then they're at that level, and they'll be the first ones to just it's not worth it, and then you're gonna have those people that are they got a little bit bigger program, 5 to 10 dogs, and eventually you're going to cross people's thresholds to where the cost of maintaining the program versus the income it generates ain't worth it. And so you just turn those dogs into pets.
Yeah.
And
that is true.
So I don't know how long that'll take, but I see it starting.
That's true. I was going to add to one thing to that one story. That guy that stole the dog and then got on Facebook and said all that and got in with that gentleman over there in the UK. What do you think happened to that dog? Not even a year later.
Well, if he's as sick as you said he was, and you're asking this question, I'm gonna have to go out on a limb here and say he ain't with us no more.
No, sir. No, didn't even last even a year. They said, oh, he just had allergies. There was nothing wrong with him. Said all this on Facebook. The dog just had allergies to food, and they had put him on a special diet at their vet. And my vet goes, oh, if there was a vet that saw him, they would have told you right off, that he needed nair surgery and palate surgery, and there was something else going on with him other than just that. And but he's dead. He's no longer with us, and it's a sad deal because he really needed his nairs and palate done, and to be on a special diet. I don't even know what it was, but some kind of special diet.
That goes to what I was talking about, though. Like that, when somebody does that and they start breeding a stud like that. That's kind of what gives every breeder a bad name.
Yeah.
Because people just cling to that, right? They're like, oh, I know about this one dog, and they were just breeding the hell out of it, and it was a horrible, horribly genetically altered dog, and so all of y'all are that way.
Yep.
It's unfortunate. So
it is. It is unfortunate. He was a sweet boy, so I hate that happened to him because I didn't have him long enough. I mean, we were just doing all this testing to figure out what was wrong with him, why he wouldn't gain weight. And they couldn't figure it out. And it's sad. I even thought that he might have had a mega esophagus because it was horrible. You'd see him eat, and it was strange, real strange, throwing up, gagging. It was terrible. But they found him dead. He had aspirated on some food.
So it wasn't even like a natural thing. It was, well, I mean, it happened because of what he needed to get fixed, not getting fixed.
Yes, yes.
So it
And
was
he
a
didn't need it.
preventable.
He
It was a
did-
preventable death.
Yes, sir. He could have had that stuff fixed, and he just didn't need to be bred. He needed just to be a pet. This had been going on for a period of time, and they just pushed him off over here to us in America and thought, oh, well, hey, they'll fix him or they'll just go ahead and keep breeding him. No, sir. That was not, he was not a breeding, and not as far as his structure and his look. As far as health went, he was not a breeding quality. He needed to be a pet only.
I think that's true about way more dogs than people like to admit. These people talking about whole litters are fire. I don't know if I buy all that.
Mm-hmm.
I think not unless you have an established program, because that consistency comes from like the pedigree that's stacked behind. So if you have a style and you've been breeding that style for 10 years, well, that's where the consistency comes in. It doesn't come from scatter breeding, and a lot of when you first start off, that's what's going on. Like, because you're buying dogs, you got to accumulate your foundation, and there's going to be some inconsistency in there in the beginning.
True.
So
That is true.
I think we've convinced everybody to buy America first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've learned my lesson.
Well, I'm gonna let you go. We've run about twice as long as what I've told you. You made a liar out of me, but I did enjoy hearing the stories. Like, because this is something that when I first started breeding, that fascinated me. How much money was getting spent on dogs overseas, and why not here? But obviously it's because the DNA wasn't here at the time. But
True. That is true.
I appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking to you again soon, because I'm gonna have to hit you up. I'm gonna have to hit you up off the air in case you want to hurt my feelings about what you think about that puppy. So
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Miss Kim, and you have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome inside the kennel, the heartbeat of the dog game, where real breeders break down real experiences, and the experts drop the knowledge you can't Google. We're talking structure, bloodlines, nutrition, training, wins, losses, and everything that makes champions in and out of the ring. This is for the ones who live it, breathe it, and build it, one lit at a time. Your host, Kevin, Ben, and Roderick. Lock in.